And we're live now.
All right, very good. Hey, welcome to Super Dungeon Brothers Live. I am Dungeon Dan.
I am DM Steve, and we have some big news to talk about today. Big news that everybody's talking about. Of course, Wizards of the Coast, the OGL, they have finally made a statement about the disastrous leak of OGL 1.1 and their
hmm
intentions moving forward. So
Now,
that is.
I actually haven't heard anything. Uh, I actually did see that they canceled it, and that's about all I've seen. But I
Mhm.
haven't seen apparently, they came out with a statement and everything, and I haven't seen anything. Um, but before we get to that, why don't we talk a little bit about what has happened up to now? What's been
Sure.
going on?
Yeah, of course. Of course. So uh, basically, what has happened is that a few days ago, Linda Codega, the a journalist at Gizmodo Io9, leaked a portion of an OGL 1.1 that was circulated amongst some third-party publishers
hmm
that were under NDA. The NDA expired. They provided Linda with the leak, and an article was written. And then the full OGL was leaked. Everyone read
hmm
it, and the community freaked out because it. The worst thing about it was that it purported to deauthorize the OGL 1.0A, which is a
Right.
huge deal
Oh yeah.
because
Mhm.
dozens, if not hundreds, of publishers, little tiny small press publishers, are
Mhm.
have created works. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of published works under that OG. I would say probably thousands, with
Mhm.
all the PDFs
Well,
and stuff
the
on Drive
last
Through
2
RPG.
it's been the last 2 decades of that's the thing is I mean, this is people have been publishing for 20 some years on this thing.
True,
There
true.
are
Over 20
works.
years.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there are definitely a ton of these works that are out there, and essentially this new OGL was threatening those works, threatening the works of creators going forward. There was a bunch
Mhm.
of language about if you were under this new OGL that Wizards essentially had the rights to use your copyright IP with just no, for no, just
Mhm.
basically steal it.
Basically.
Um,
Basically.
essentially and you can do anything. There
Mhm.
were crazy royalty fees
Oh yeah,
associated with
the
it.
big guys are going to be hit with super stupid royalty fees.
Mm. A-
25%.
And when you say big guys, I mean the people, the companies that would be hit with that, such as Piezo, are not big. I mean, they're big in the
Mhm.
sense of the RPG community, but
Yeah.
in the RPG industry, but they're not like a huge company. They're
Right.
not.
Right.
And so, yeah.
25% off the top, not after not after all the bills are paid. 25% off the top would kill some of these companies.
Hmm.
Just slaughter them.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. All of these companies, any of these companies,
Mhm.
for sure, for sure. Um, so yeah, there was a big backlash, of course, against that. Um, and some some creators were quiet, and that,
Mhm.
Critical Role didn't really make too much of a statement. People were nervous about that. There were some other companies that didn't talk, and it was theorized that Wizards was trying to bully some companies into, signing up and using this new OGL.
Yeah.
And yeah, the community was not pleased. Um, One of the big things that happened was uh, Ginny D,
Yeah,
who
Ginny
is
D.
who is a YouTuber. Um, I think she tweeted out to cancel your D&D Beyond because
Yes.
there was the idea that Wizards was using D&D Beyond subscriptions kind of as their, uh, as their metric essentially
Hmm.
to see, what was going on, and so it crashed their their servers
Oh
apparently,
yeah.
from what I
Hmm.
understand. So
Well,
people were
no.
really
What
mad.
what I understand actually happened, and I watched a couple people talk about this. It didn't technically crash their servers.
Hmm.
Apparently, Wizards saw what was happening, and they crashed their own server
I
because a
see.
couple hours later, because you and I aren't subscribed to one D&D, so we didn't see this. But apparently, a couple hours later, what happened
I am
was,
actually.
oh, okay,
I think I signed up for it, but didn't really, like, I just
didn't
signed
really
up
do
for it and
anything.
didn't even look
Yeah.
at it.
So what happened is when it came back up, okay, before the crash, it was easy to find the unsubscribe button, but when it
Hmm.
came back up, you had to jump through like 3 levels of hoops to find that
Really? Is
unsubscribe.
that what they
Yeah,
did?
yeah, to find the unsubscribe button
Oh
because they
man.
figure if we make it harder to unsubscribe, people will just try to go there and unsubscribe, and people are lazy and they're not going to do it. I don't think it quite I don't quite think it worked.
Hmm.
I think people were pissed off enough that,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
you're gonna make me jump through some hoops. I'm gonna jump through some frickin' hoops.
Garrett in chat, by the way. Hey, Garrett.
Hey, Garrett.
So yeah, I mean, do you want to see the statement, Dan?
Yeah. So
Are you ready?
I haven't seen the statement. Let's take a look here.
Yeah, so I've already looked over this, but here it is. All right. So, an update on the open game license, D&D Beyond, because this is kind of what
Hmm.
they're using now is D&D Beyond. This is what they're
Yeah.
using for communication. They paid a
Hmm.
bunch of money for D&D Beyond to tank these folks, honestly.
Hmm.
That's kind of sad, really. I mean, it wasn't something I was interested in, D&D Beyond, but still, I mean, they were doing their thing. They were kind of a third party that got
Yeah.
bought up, and now they're just wrapped up in this, and yeah, it sucks. Sucks for them. Anyway, an update on the Open Gaming License. When we initially conceived of revising the OGL, it was with three major goals in mind. First, we wanted the ability to prevent the use of D&D content from being included in hateful and discriminatory products.
Huh.
Second,
Okay.
we wanted to address those attempting to use D&D in Web3, blockchain games, and NFTs by making it clear that the OGL content is limited to tabletop role-playing content like campaigns, modules, and supplements.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's also maybe not. And
Yeah.
third, we want to ensure that the OGL is for content creator, the home brewer, the aspiring designer, our players in the community, not major corporations to use for their own commercial and promotional purposes.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
all right. Driving these goals were two simple principles. Our job is to be good stewards of the game, and the OGL exists, yeah, for the benefit of the fans. Benefit of fans. Sure. Nothing
Oh.
about those principles has wavered for a second.
Yeah, it's only
Sure.
been wavering for like a decade, not
Yeah,
a sec. Yeah.
sure,
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
great. So that was why our early drafts of the OGL included the provisions they did. That draft language was provided to content creators and publishers so their feedback could be considered before anything was finalized.
I think they got some feedback.
In addition to language allowing us to address discriminatory and hateful conduct and clarifying types of products that the OGL covers, our drafts included royalty language designed to apply to large corporations attempting to use OGL content. It was never our intent to impact the vast majority of the community.
Boy, I'm going to stop you right there. They really are. They are really, really pushing this discriminatory and hateful conduct piece
Hmm.
of this. Man, they are really trying, aren't they?
Yeah,
They
and
they really want that.
they
They really want
also
that as part of it.
they
Yeah.
also really want you to know, oh, it's big companies. Like it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, well, we're not the only all big companies are bad. So there may be
Yeah.
another big bad
Mm-hmm.
company like us will come along,
Mm-hmm.
bigger and badder
Oh,
than
yeah.
Hasbro will come along and
Mm-hmm.
they'll steal our stuff and then we'll be the little guy and then you'll
Yeah.
feel bad for no, 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 no.
Mm-mm.
That's
Nope.
not even going to happen, right?
Mm-mm.
There's only like a handful of bigger companies that would, you know, if
There's
they
only a
wanted to
handful of
make
bigger companies that could try to do
and
this.
if they wanted to make a game, they would probably just make their own. Like if they were big enough to try and
Mm-hmm.
like just push into the industry, I mean,
They'd go ahead and they would have done it by now.
and they would have done it by now. Like if
They
Sony
they would
or
have done it by now.
Disney or whoever wanted to
Yeah.
make like an RPG and they wanted to push into
Mm-hmm.
the end, they would have done it. Yeah, of course, obviously.
But they're not going to do it. They're going to go and they're going to source it out to a third party like you,
Mhm.
who's going to make
Exactly.
money. That's how
Exactly.
they do it. That's how big businesses do that. They don't
Ex-
go and do their own shit. They
just
they
like just like how the Tolkien estate
Mhm.
licensed their, the Lord of the Rings. There's a Lord of the Rings because that was one of the things people were freaking out about was
Mhm.
that there's a Lord of the Rings 5e game getting ready to come out, and people were saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, this new OGL is going to make it so that Wizards of the Coast owns like Tolkien IP or can use Tolkien
Right.
IP." And people were saying, "Oh, that's going to be a big legal battle," but it wasn't because the Tolkien estate was licensing their IP to
Mhm.
this third party company that was like a
Yep.
littler company that was then going to publish the game, and it would be that company that would
Yeah.
kind of be stuck in the middle. Tolkien would wash their hands of it and be like,
Yeah.
whatever, you don't own our stuff. So yeah, there really are no big guys. There's only little guys, so you're only hurting little guys.
mhm.
Also, there's with you were talking about that, the hateful stuff. If they I mean, the only way to enforce that is to have it be at their sole discretion,
Yes.
right? Which means that anything could be hateful or discriminatory, which means that
Absolutely.
that's one clause that is, again, it's the Thanos snap. It's
Mhm.
the it's the clause that we don't have to define it at all,
No.
right? We get to define it when it becomes relevant to us, and if
Mhm.
it becomes relevant to us because you've become really successful,
Then we're going to
and
define
then
it.
we can declare you hateful and
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
squelch you out of the market.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's on one side it's pandering, and on the other side it's a sword that you can use
Mhm.
to literally stab any of your partners. Um,
Pretty much.
so yeah, where were we? I think
However.
down here. Wait,
Nope.
however, okay. However, it's clear from the reaction that we rolled a one. Yes, they
No
did.
shit.
Critical failure.
mhm.
They literally got their heads chopped off. They
Oh,
chopped
you
their
very
own
much so.
heads off
Mhm.
with this
Mhm.
somehow.
The
Threw the
sword,
sword upside,
they threw the sword, it bounced off the wall, it came straight back and chopped their head off.
hurtling back somehow,
Mhm.
chopped their head
Yes.
off,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
dead. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it has become clear that it is no longer possible to fully achieve all three goals while still staying true to our principles. So here's what we are doing. All right.
Oh lord.
The next OGL will contain the provisions that allow us to protect and cultivate the inclusive environment we are trying to build and specify that it covers only content for TTRPGs. that means that other expressions such as educational, charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplay, VTT uses, etc., will remain unaffected by any OGL update. Content already released under 1.0a will also remain unaffected.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So
So
yeah, so
that says
they had to do
already.
that. Yeah.
That says
Mhm.
already. I'm I'm assuming that means that if you've already published, you can keep publishing,
That's
but
yeah, that's not clear.
it's not 100% clear, so we don't really know.
Mhm.
Um, what it will not contain is any royalty structure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that
they realized that was a big fuck
mhm.
up.
Mhm.
Um, it will also not include the license back provision that some people were afraid was a means for us to steal work. Well, that's good.
Yeah, mhm. That
Let's
thought
see.
never crossed our minds.
No,
Bullshit.
no, no, no.
Uh-huh.
Under any new OGL, you will own the content you create. We won't. You know what? We always would have.
Mhm.
So fuck off. Um, any language we put down will be crystal clear and unequivocal on that point. The license back language was intended to protect us and our partners from creators who incorrectly allege that we steal their work simply because of coincidental similarities.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay?
Coincidental similarities. Mhm.
That language was never in the other OGL, the original OGL.
Mhm.
Really, how many people did they get? How many? Like I would like to know how many people came at Wizards of the Coast and said you stole my idea and
Mhm.
actually tried to like litigate. Like
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
of a problem was that they think they need to put this in this new OGL? I don't know. I don't think it was probably I this is
Yeah,
my
it was
opinion,
probably
but
it was
it was probably very
minuscule.
very minuscule
Mhm.
overall, right? Okay. So let's see. The license back language was intended to protect us and our partners and create. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. As
Mhm.
we continue to invest in the game we love and move forward with our partnerships in film, television, and digital games.
Because we have
Yeah.
to put that in there. We've got to tell. Hey, we're coming out with this.
Yeah, that risk is simply too great to ignore. The OGL will contain provisions to address that risk, but we will do it without a license back and without suggestion that we have rights to the content you create. Your ideas and imagination are what makes the game special, and that belongs to you. We know. We know. You didn't have
Mhm.
to tell us
Yeah.
that. Okay. So then they have a last couple of thoughts. First, we won't be able to release the new OGL today. Well, no shit,
Well, of course not.
right? Because we need to make sure we get it right, but it is coming. Second, you're
Mhm.
going to hear people say that they won and we lost because making your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Those people will only be half right. They won, and so did we.
Oh yeah, you did.
Sure,
Mhm.
you did.
Mhm.
You did
That's
not
why
win.
you're scrambling and had to cancel your Discord and
Hmm.
had to put all of your unsubscribe behind 3 levels of hoops to yeah, no, you lost.
And now I think this is the part that I would say I think that this is absolute nonsense. This last
Okay.
section here. Our plan was always to solicit the input of our community before any update to the OGL. The drafts you've seen were an attempt to do just that. Now, from what I understand from Linda,
Mhm.
is that creators were under NDA. It was only given to those specific creators and
Right.
third party guys that were under NDA,
Who were
and that
probably
mortified when they fucking
yeah.
read it
Mhm.
and were just chomping at the bit for the NDA to expire so that
Oh
they
yeah.
could get it out there into the public because the community didn't know about it and wasn't
Mhm.
supposed to know about it. I fail to believe that this is, yeah, it was any kind of in their plans. Clearly not in their plans.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. We want to always delight fans and create experiences together that everyone loves. Well,
Mhm.
everyone didn't love what you just did.
Yep.
Um, we realize we did not do that this time, and we are
No,
sorry for that.
no shit.
Our goal was to get exactly the type of feedback on which provisions worked and which did not, which we ultimately got from you. Oh, yeah, you did.
Mhm.
Uh, any change this major could only have been done, well, if we were willing to take that feedback no matter how it was provided. So we are. That's
Yeah.
that's their little like
Mhm. Yep. Mhm.
there you go. There's some honesty
Yeah.
there. Just
Mhm.
for once we get a little bit
Yeah.
of honesty. Thank you for caring enough to let us know what works and what doesn't, what you need and what scares you. Without knowing that, we can't do our part to make the OGL match our principles.
Mhm.
Finally, we'd appreciate the chance to make this right. We love D&D's devoted players and creators who take them on so many incredible adventures. We won't let you down. So there it is, Dan.
Well, yeah. Mhm. Well, all I can say is after reading that, the thing that goes through my mind is that is the punchline to that very long joke, and the punchline is bring me my brown pants.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's
Yes.
exactly what this was.
Yes.
Bring me my brown pants.
Bring me my brown pants. 100%.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Because boy oh boy, they holy
uh
holy shit.
100%. Yeah. Bring me
Jesus.
my brown pants is definitely what Wizard of the Coast
Mhm.
is saying right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah,
It-
again, I
No.
agree with Linda about about wizards. I think there's a part in here. Gosh, let me see. There's one part
Yeah,
in this
while you're looking
article.
for that, they weren't soliciting information from the greater community. They were just going to drop this on a frickin' Thursday and be done with it
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know, whether you like it or not, this is what's happening. That's what they were going to do. And yeah, and they got their ass handed to them.
Yeah, so
They easily got their ass handed to them.
here's the section of this article that I just wanted to read again from Linda Codega, the
I like that very
IO9.
beginning, that very first sentence.
Yeah, I just want to credit Linda, the
Oh
IO9
yeah.
Gizmodo
Mhm.
journalist that originally broke this. This is from Linda's new article,
Mhm.
and it says the drafts that IO9 received were not a thought experiment. They were
Mhm.
intended to gauge a reaction, but from individual publishers that Wizards could silence with an NDA, not from the public at large. For all intents and purposes, the OGL 1.1 that was leaked to the press was supposed to go forward. Wizards has realized that they made a mistake and are walking
Mhm.
back numerous parts of the leaked OGL 1.1, saying that any changes this major could have only been done well if we were willing to take feedback no matter how it was provided. So we are. And that's what we had just read
Yep.
um, from the update on D&D Beyond. It's
Mhm.
it's back in there, and I agree with that 100%. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Linda is the person that would know. The leak came to them, and I mean the people that talked to,
Mhm.
obviously they were these third party creators that were
Yep.
in this meeting, so
Mhm.
they know what's going on. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
the fact
Absolutely.
that Wizards now wants to pretend that that they didn't want to just slide this out and just screw everybody. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's nonsense. It's nonsense. Um, but there's other stuff to talk about. Before we do that, maybe we should check in with the chat. Do we have anybody in chat here?
I think the
Hey,
only person I see is
hello.
Garrett.
Hey, Garrett, you still here? Anybody in chat? Does anybody here have anything they'd like to say about this the comment about this statement from Wizards and the OGL? I think it's insane um, that they that they did this at all.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. A lot of people. Hey, Garrett's still here.
yeah,
Hey, a lot of people were saying that I'm that there might be a new OGL. I wasn't really paying attention to it because honestly, I wasn't paying that much attention to D&D 1.
yeah,
I wasn't really thinking too much about it because it didn't really, you know what I mean? It didn't really affect
yeah.
us. You know, we were
No,
playing our
no.
old school D&D, like
Hmm.
you're not really thinking about it. And I think most of the people in the community weren't really thinking about it
No, no. I
at the
think
time.
this came as a I think this came as a big surprise to everybody, which is why I think the entire community, 99% of the community came together and was like, "No.
Hmm.
No, no, no. You're not fucking with our D&D." Because
True.
that's exactly what it was, you know. Yeah, you might own the IP, Wizards, but you're
Hmm.
not fucking with our D&D.
Yeah, our game essentially.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
you might own the IP, but the
Yeah.
game belongs to everybody really.
Yeah,
The
it
whole
really does. Mhm.
any gamers. So we do have some information from Piezo, of course.
Yeah.
Part of the backlash was that several of the high profile and
Mhm.
bigger third party creators, it looks like they're going to band together and create their own open RPG license.
Well, a
So,
few of them, some of them are banding together. Some of them are just doing their own. I think like
mhm.
Frog God is doing their own. Paizo's doing their own. I think there might be one or two that are joining Paizo, and there are others that
Well,
are.
according to this statement, let's
Hmm.
see. There is, yeah, according to this statement, uh, Kobold, Green Ronin,
Cobalt. Okay.
Legendary Games, Roll for Combat, RGG, and other publishers. I saw Chaosium
Hmm.
listed on their Twitter, and you can imagine that more people are going to join this.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
basically, the idea is that Paizo and these other third-party companies are creating what they're calling the ORC system or the
Hmm.
ORC license, which is,
Yeah,
we're nerds. It's kind of cool,
yeah.
gaming related. And the idea is that it's going to be similar to the old OGL in that it will provide common terms that
For everybody to
the
use.
community can use, that anybody can use for their games, and they won't be linked to Wizards of the Coast IP. I don't know if some of them will be from Pathfinder or
Hmm.
from some other games that maybe have their own language for certain things now that they've
Hmm.
evolved to a certain point. I don't
Right.
know if maybe they'll do that and they'll just say, okay, well this is free now,
Hmm.
or if they'll work together to just come up with a whole new thing. But either way, it'll have to include some sort of reference regarding what content. Looks like we've got a chat
Yeah.
from Gavin
Yes.
Shaber. According to Ted from Nerd Immersion, Linda Codega talked to Matthew Mercer about the whole situation regarding Legends of Vox Machina and or is that Vox Machina?
Vox
I'm not sure.
Vox Machina. Yeah.
and Matt said they would wait until OGL 2.0 is released to make an official statement. Okay, okay. I don't
Okay.
actually watch Critical Role, so I'm not familiar with the different
Hmm.
shows. I'm aware that they have a couple of different shows, so that Legends of Vox Machina is, I think, one of their shows. But I can see that.
Mhm.
You
Some
know,
people are gonna wanna wait. Yeah, they're gonna
some
wanna
people are
wait.
going to want to wait, and Matt Mercer, they're in kind of a weird situation because they stand apart, right? They're this giant actual play. They're kind of the only one that's as big as they are,
Mhm.
and that's new territory, right? So if Matt Mercer's attorney told him, "Hey, chill,"
Yeah.
then
He's gonna chill.
maybe that's
Yeah.
what he's doing. It's I think it's hard to kind of say, Matt, make a statement. It's that's tough.
Yeah.
They are really kind of a unique, weird situation.
Mhm.
Um, like for me, one of the things, and I don't know if they have or not yet, but for a while, like Goodman Games has not, as far as I know, hasn't made a statement even yet, which is like, ugh, I don't like
Mhm.
that. It's like the Troll Lords made statement, Piezo. It's like Goodman hasn't made a statement, but Goodman,
Mhm.
like I said, they are um, partners with Wizards of the Coast, which
Yeah.
could affect what decisions that they have to make, but also they are downstream from them are a bunch of really small companies because of Dungeon Crawl Classics, because all created under
Mhm.
the 1.0a license. And if if Goodman Games adopts a more draconian license, then the people downstream from it. Those people are all done. I mean, as
Right.
far as like Dungeon Crawl Classics, they'll have to kind of rebrand, or maybe they can kind of come
Mhm.
together under one of these new banners. But yeah, that's the one company I'm worried about. And if they, oh man, we play a Dungeon Crawl Classics game, and if they go down the dark path, I don't know, dude.
Yeah. It's gonna be difficult. Although,
Yeah, we
yeah,
might
it's
have
gonna
to
be difficult
we might have
to
to
re.
redo some things, and
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
not use Dungeon Crawl Classics for that. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
want to say that because I really like the system and I'd really
Yeah.
like to continue playing it, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
Well,
Now,
the a lot of these little guys were out there. Did you see where where Castles and Crusades were they went ahead and said, "Hey, we're going to give away our PDFs
mhm,
for I can't remember how long it was, how long of a time it was that they just said, "We're just going to give away the PDFs
I
to our
think
core system for like, yeah."
I think it's they didn't put a time limit on it. I think
Oh,
they
really?
said just
They,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, we're just going to give it away now.
Yeah, as far as I know,
Mhm.
maybe not forever, but they just said if for now, because
Yeah, we're
what they said is they were giving it away during COVID.
mhm.
When the pandemic first started,
Right.
and people were like home.
Mhm.
Uh, so I think they just said, "Hey, we're just gonna go ahead and give it away."
Yeah.
Um, Now they are scrubbing all OGL and kind of going their own
Mhm.
way. Something that I wanted to talk about that's kind of interesting is uh, Matt Finch is the creator of Swords and Wizardry, and I saw a
Mhm.
stream from Matt the other day, and he was talking about, now he's actually associated, you talked about Frog Gods and Necromancer games. He's kind
Yeah.
of associated with them. They do some publishing for Swords and Wizardry,
Mhm.
and it is the kind of the retro clone for original, like, old D&D,
Right. Right.
right? The version even before the one that we play, basically.
Mhm.
The old, like, the
The
first
the
box with the
yeah.
the little books, all the little
Yeah,
booklets.
the whole
Yeah,
the whole thing, yeah.
that
Mhm.
thing, right? So what he was saying, and he is a lawyer, was that he is going to just strip out completely any SRD, anything that could possibly be, and not use any kind of license, just rewrite the language himself
Right.
and just publish with no license,
Mm-hmm.
right? Completely free of that. And I think that if you can do it, then that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
think a lot
absolutely.
of
Mm-hmm.
people are going to be looking at, because he said he's already begun it and he's probably going to put a
Mm-hmm.
Kickstarter out and everything. And so I think a lot of people are going to be looking to see what Matt Finch does
Mm-hmm.
and how it looks, because I've heard some interesting things. One of the things he was saying on his live stream was that um, one of the problems with spell names is not the name itself in the spell necessarily when it comes to IP, but the spell name in a list, which is interesting. Like
So the
the
list is the IP, not the
the
spell name itself.
I guess it's maybe the group of spell names together because they're in a list
Okay.
together. So
Mm-hmm.
what he was saying was that you could do a thing like in the list you could say magical missile,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then in the spell name, you could put the spell name as magical missile, parentheses, magic missile. And he said that that would actually be okay. I
Oh
mean,
really?
according to him, that's him. He's a lawyer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying
Right.
this.
Right.
But
Of
he
course.
said that on his live stream that that from his understanding would be fine. And so I'm really really curious to see
Yeah.
what he does with that,
Mm-hmm.
because that'll be interesting.
Now, a lot of these decisions now, though, were made prior to uh, Wizards coming out with this new language.
No, nobody's going back.
Yeah.
Nobody's going back.
Yeah, I know. I know. No, I know that nobody's going to go back, but yeah, it's
Anyone who has already made a statement, first of all, anybody that's already made a statement has to commit, right?
oh, at this point they do.
Like
Yes. Mhm.
and the problem is that Wizards has they've they showed their hand,
Mhm.
right? We know what you were doing, dude. We
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
You Anybody that knows you're not getting those people back.
Oh yeah.
Not without like a huge show, it's going to be a long long time before
Mhm.
a lot of people are comfortable, if ever, really associating in that way, or
Right.
trusting Wizards of the
Right.
Coast, Hasbro. Um, you know, one of the things that because I've been watching a lot of live streams. Did you happen to watch the that live stream that I sent you, that I sent everybody, with Ryan Dancy, the guy that was kind of the co-architect of the original OGL, the 1.0
I,
A?
no, I didn't get a chance to look at that. No.
That's a really interesting, because he talks about a lot of things, and I mean he really specifically says this is what our intention was when we
Mhm.
created this. This was my idea. I have a Linux background, and I
Right.
work with open licenses, and we this is what we wanted it to do. And it was,
Right.
he said that it's crazy to think that because we didn't say that the license was irrevocable, that it could be irrevocable, that the intent was that
Right.
it would absolutely be forever, and that you could
Mhm.
always use it. Interestingly enough, and I didn't actually know this, Hasbro already had purchased and owned wholly Wizards of the Coast when the first license was created.
Oh really?
Yeah, so he said, yeah, Hasbro knew of that the license was going to be created. And he even says, he's like, if we had wanted Hasbro to have powers to be able to terminate this, or
Mhm.
whatever, we would have enumerated those powers in the license.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, it's pretty clear. Apparently there was a FAQ on the Wizards website in 2004 that, you know, pretty clearly stated, hey, this is, you'll be
Mhm.
able to use this forever, even if there's a new version like this, you're good to go on this one. So there's a lot of information that was pretty interesting in that, with Ryan Dancy for sure. He cleared a lot of things up, and I think in this, yeah,
Well, it
this
says in here
Piezo announcement, this is kind of interesting here.
it
Yeah.
looks like Brian Lewis, who is the co-founder of Azora Law, is helping Piezo draft this.
And Brian Lewis is the co-author of the OGL 1.0A with Ryan
Right.
Dancy.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's the guy. Um, but yeah, it's funny because in Paizo's own statement, they say we believe any interpretation that the OGL 1.0 or 1.0A were intended to be revocable or able to be deauthorized is incorrect and with good reason.
Mhm.
We were there. It says,
Yeah. Yeah.
Paizo owner Lisa Stevens and Paizo president Jim Butler were leaders on the Dungeons and Dragons team at Wizards at the time.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
they were there, and Ryan Dancy confirms that. He said, he talks about, um, what he calls a this dirty diaper meeting,
Mhm.
which essentially was that the industry was in a rough shape. It wasn't
Yeah.
just TSR was in a rough shape. It was that like the whole industry was in an absolutely rough shape, and that
Mhm.
they had to figure out how to set it right because they're owned by Hasbro and everything. They got to figure out how to right this train. D&D
Mhm.
was purchased for like nothing because it was a disaster,
Yeah.
right? So what do you do? How do you fix it? And really, the open gaming license was one of the big things that was meant to fix the industry,
Right.
right? Because
Mhm.
there were all these systems and all these little, basically, what he was talking about was role playing games, the industry has weird economics and had weird economics, especially back in the day,
Mhm.
because your game is only as valuable as there are players to play it,
Makes sense.
right?
That makes sense.
So
Yes.
that's like kind of different than other industries. You're
Mhm.
not really having to rely on
Yeah.
that. But with Dungeons and Dragons or any role playing game, for the most part, you need people, right? And you need like a
Oh
group of
yeah.
people, right? For it to
Mhm.
be the most richest experience that it can be, you need a big group of people. And the idea that, you know, uh, that the value comes from the fact that a bunch of people play your game, right?
Mhm.
In the late 90s, there was a big fracture because, people were playing, World of Darkness got really big and people
Mhm.
were playing Vampire the Masquerade, and there were all these like little
Right.
different systems that people were playing. And a lot of times there was some crossover, but Vampire the Masquerade had brought in different people than D&D. There was like kind of
And
a more
yeah.
theatrical game or
Mhm.
whatever. And I remember like, there was vampire players didn't play D&D. D&D
No.
is brutal and it's too,
Mhm.
there's too much combat and
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and vampire players wanted to, have politics and intrigue and
Mhm.
role playing and all that stuff, and so there
Yeah.
was a big divide about the systems. And
Mhm.
those people weren't playing the same games. They could have been, and that's what the OGL 1.0A kind of did. It allowed everybody to kind of adopt similar language so that everybody was kind of playing a similar game, right? And then
Mhm.
once the World of Darkness games were D20 games, well, then those players kind of intermesh, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's
You
like,
know?
oh, now this looks familiar to me. I,
hmm
I I feel better now that I can get into this game. Yes.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
And so that was the value of it, that Wizards was like, here, OGL 1.0A, you
Mhm.
can use this. We talked in our last live stream about, big eyes, small mouth.
Yep.
It's the tri-stat system. It's a weird little system. It's this weird little game that only like anime fans, and this is back in the 90s, so there's not even that
Mm-hmm.
many anime fans out there at the time.
Right.
Um, Putting that as a D20 system opened it up some more. The original system is great, don't get me wrong, but it allowed a common language for everybody to kind of use.
Right.
And yeah, hopefully, Paizo continues along with that. Um, I think the Orc license is a great game. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a great name. But what what do you think, Dan, about you know, about this new license?
About Paizo's new license?
Hmm. And the different publishers that are going to use it. Do you think that?
See, that's the thing. I think that uh, what I think we're going to have now are factions. Paizo is creating this license, and Paizo is bringing in a lot of other creators, and they're saying, okay, so use our stuff,
Hmm.
use our stuff, and here are all our partners who are also going to be using our stuff. But then you might have a couple outliers
Hmm.
who are going to say, no, 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 no,
Hmm.
use our stuff.
True,
Here's
true.
here's our open gaming license. Use our
Right.
stuff.
I
You know,
kind of
and
wondered
here
about that.
here comes Wizards of the Coast linking back in with their tail between their legs, going, no, 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 please, 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 use ours.
Hmm.
So now what you're creating, in fact, is are what you're actually creating is a great thing. Okay, you're creating factions. You're creating um this is
Competition.
capital. This is
Yeah,
competition. This is capitalism.
competition.
This is it. This is exactly what. And you know what? Wizards of the Coast. Thank you.
Need.
This is probably what we needed to just kick everybody's ass and get everybody out of their complacency and using your system and getting everybody's creative juices uh, working again. And now I think you're actually going to this little bit of a dark time, this little tiny dark time is actually I think and I'm going to call it, it's going to be a renaissance for the game. We're Wizards of the Coast actually creates a renaissance for the game by screwing up royally.
Renaissance for the game or renaissance for the industry?
Industry. Let me say renaissance. When I say game, I mean
Just role playing games in
role
general.
role playing games in general. I
Hmm.
think this is going to be a renaissance because people like people like you and I, you have your stuff.
Hmm.
Maybe this inspires you to say, you know what, I'm not going to use anybody's license. I'm going to go
Hmm.
back through my crap and I'm going to create my own crap that
Hmm.
nobody can license.
The fires are stoked essentially.
Mm-hmm.
In each
Absolutely.
of us, the fires are stoked, and people are ready to
Yeah.
go. This kind of
Mm-hmm.
re-energized people into saying, "Ah, here we go." Let's see, we got. Oh, hey, Jeffrey. Jeffrey
Jeffrey,
Witty's
hey
back.
Jeffrey.
I'm crap. Someone blame a third party. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
think.
I think that's what's going to happen. I really do.
Okay. I think so too. I believe that you know people will use this to make their own games. What I'm wondering is if there'll be like a core game. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
whereas in the original OGL, the core game was kind of the D20, the original
Yeah.
core of the third edition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will Paizo attempt to make like some core basic game that's not Pathfinder, that's just this core set? I don't know.
I don't know about that. I don't think so. Because they have their partners that are coming in underneath them that all have their own little core games, and I think this is more of that creative license to you. Hey, you can use our terms, we can use your terms. We're not gonna be mad if we use each other's terms. You
True,
know?
true. Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's really more of what this is about.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too.
Mhm.
Jeffrey says, let's see.
WotC C-suite.
We have one ring binder on the way to Mordor. We call it 3.75E. That's core 3.75. Yeah, I mean,
Ah.
I can
Mhm.
understand that. We had a similar thing. We did, we did we played second edition for a while, and I feel
Mhm.
like for a while we played 2 point, you know, six
Yeah.
six 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 or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, we
It was
did. We
definitely not really.
absolutely did.
It was definitely not just second edition. And then we went
Mhm.
back to Beck Me, and we play definitely an updated version of that as
Yeah.
well, for sure.
Mhm.
I'm sure it will be core, six stats. Yeah, THAC0 slash AC, protective class. I mean, yeah, that makes sense,
Mhm.
Jeffrey. I'm just wondering if they'll try and kind of do a basic D20 clone, essentially, and then use that as the basis, or if they'll use language from Pathfinder that they'll just make free and open, or if they'll create new language altogether. That's what I'm curious about.
Mhm.
So Jeffrey says, I really think Pathfinder 1E hit the nail close to the head. That's true. The only problem with
Mhm.
Pathfinder 1E is that it's heavily, heavily, heavily built off the SRD, and so they're not using that. So they would absolutely have to go in and make a bunch of changes if they wanted to try and
Mhm.
essentially base it off of a Pathfinder 1E. Um, I never played Pathfinder, honestly, but the funny thing about it was that I was thinking about it with all this stuff. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just support Piezo and buy either the Pathfinder 2E core rules just to have it as like a reference, or maybe Starfinder. I
Mhm.
might be able to, since we do our D&D game, it's like a space game. I might be able
Right.
to, you know, pick little pieces out of Starfinder. Maybe I have to check it
Possibly.
out.
Mhm. Possibly so.
As long as they don't use funny dice, Jeffrey says. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
That's how you have to refer to the dice from now on.
Mhm.
You cannot say polyhedrals or random number generators. Those Wizards of the
Yeah.
Coast will come and sue you.
Mhm.
You have to just say funny dice, and
Funny dice. Mhm.
yeah, and sure, you're stuck with it.
Mhm. Hey, hey, Steve. Maybe that's it. Maybe Jeffrey's given us the name of our new system.
Your new system.
Our new system is going to be funny dice.
Yes, yes. Funny. Let's see. Funny dice and because it has to be funny dice and something.
Yep.
Funny dice and funny dice and fucking dicks. Sorry.
Oh my. There it is.
We are the dicks in the dark.
We are the dicks in
Um,
the dark. This is
let's
true.
see.
Yes.
We're
Mhm.
not even an hour into the live stream. I've already cursed several times, which
Mhm.
means that
The YouTube
YouTube is gonna
algorithm.
be like, meh. So
Yeah,
if you
YouTube's
haven't
gonna
hit
kill us.
like and you're here, maybe hit like to
Yep.
help us out a little bit, because I'm gonna destroy our YouTube algorithm by saying naughty words.
Toss a pyramid.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be that difficult to, if when it really comes down to it, I don't think it's going to be that difficult to scrub out um, SRD terms from people's games. I mean, I know it sucks for
Mhm.
games that are already published, if it's
Yep.
already out there, and it is a lot of work. I understand that, and it is more work.
Mhm.
It's a problem, but it's it's not as big as a problem of just like not being able to publish at all, right?
Mhm.
Of just having to close up shop and stop. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Well,
people will
here's
do
here's
that.
the thing. Here's the thing. So we know.
Keep talking.
Uh,
I'm gonna grab my coffee.
okay. All right. So here's the thing that we really need to pay attention to is that we know what Wizards of the Coast did. You know, or we know what their intention was to do, and we now know that hey, we are. They say we're still going to update the Open Gaming License. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we go through their new license with a fine-tooth comb. And I hate to say it, but we need to do the same thing with Piezo and anybody
Mm-hmm.
else who
Mm-hmm.
who puts their license out at this point. You know, we need to be consistent, and we need to call everybody on the carpet if something isn't quite right.
My coffee didn't even brew, but you're
Uh,
exactly
you
right.
know, yeah,
Um,
and that's the thing. It's like, this is an old Reaganism for those of you who are old enough to remember Ronald Reagan when he was talking about the Soviet Union. He said, "Trust but verify." And that's exactly what we have to do at this point with everybody who puts out a license.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's going to be a little trust there, but guess
Mm-hmm.
what? We're going to verify at this point. We're
Sure,
we're
sure.
we're going to make sure.
And I think that
Clerks and
that's
coffee. No, 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 because we don't want anything. We don't want to have anything to do with Kevin Smith. So
yeah.
sorry.
Thanks for
Kevin
liking,
will,
by the way.
yeah, Kevin will cry. He'll start
Kevin will
crying about
cry
this.
anyway.
This is true. This is true.
But yeah, if you're just joining us, we're talking about, of course, the Wizards of the Coast. They made an update on or they are updating us, the
Mm-hmm.
community. They've given an update about the OGL, and it just seems like a bunch of nonsense. It's
It's
they're
backtracking. It's basically they've shit their pants because of what happened, and now they need to, and now they're in they're in panic mode.
mhm.
And I'm surprised that nobody's been fired yet.
I mean, we don't know that. I mean, we don't,
Oh
you
no, no,
know.
no, no. We're gonna. I guarantee you we'll find out. Some
Yeah.
people who get fired, especially if they get fired, you know, without an NDA. Some of these people are gonna talk. They're gonna
Though,
be like, eh.
you know what I had heard Matt Finch was talking about, and this kind of makes a lot of sense. He said that, you know, the OGL 1.1, the Wizards that got leaked,
Mm-hmm.
was probably not written like the OGL 1.0a. It probably wasn't. It was probably written by a huge team of lawyers
Oh
from
yeah.
some big outside law firm, possibly multiple big outside law firms.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of them that maybe they understood IP law super well, but did weren't necessarily gamers, didn't necessarily understand the community, and that he thinks that really none of this was aimed at like the OSR, as in the old school Renaissance people.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of it was really aimed at people like him who are just trying to like recreate old D&D. He's like
Right.
Wizards doesn't care about me to even think about it
Mm-hmm.
affecting us. He's like that's not what this was about. He basically said, this is about VTTs and
Mm-hmm.
streaming and like really this is about a new media and NFTs, Web3, all that. That's what this
Yep.
is really about. And we just kind of got caught up in it, you
Hmm.
know.
Well,
Um,
the woman, the woman who is the current president, of Wizards, came from Microsoft, right?
mhm, mhm.
So they probably went back to their buddies who create these kinds of licenses for their video games and said, "Hey, come on over here, help us create this license over here." And
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she had anything to do with it, honestly. Like I said, I think that this had to do with they're doing one D&D, they're doing the game, or they're doing the TV show, they're doing the movie, they're they're working to do this to grow their D&D Beyond that they bought, and that's what it doesn't have anything to do with this
Hmm.
the new lady from Microsoft. I don't think so.
Loot
She
box Laura,
probably
as Jeffrey calls it
yeah,
loot
yeah,
box.
yeah. Loot box Laura. Um, let's see. Richard Wickers said, make sure the Orc lifeboat isn't called Titanic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. We have to
Hmm.
really, really look at this Orc
Yeah.
license when it comes
Hmm.
out. Now, here, my thought on it is that Paizo will, because they saw what happened with Wizards,
Oh, they're gonna
they're
be
gonna
open.
be so
Hmm.
open.
Hmm.
We're gonna see probably many versions of this license
Hmm.
come out. Not real but like prototype
Yeah.
things come
Yep.
out so that we can review as a community. I can't
Hmm.
imagine that they'll keep this thing closed off, especially
Oh no.
with all the people that are involved. Even if they tried to, one of the partners would definitely just be like, "No, here it is."
Yeah. Yeah. They'd be like, oh, I don't like this.
Hmm.
Here, guess
But
what's happening?
I think to make to make the community, to make the license valuable, it has to
Hmm.
be 100% open,
Oh
100%
yeah.
transparency. Everybody's got to know this is forever.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
is what it is, and they can't go back on it. So, yeah, I mean, I listen, if they're able to do it and it gives language that's good, that's the other thing. The
Hmm.
language has to be usable, right?
Oh, it
Like
does. Yes.
it's got to be, it's got to make
It's got
sense.
it's got to make sense. It's got to roll off the tongue.
Mhm.
It's got to be something that you can seamlessly integrate into your game and not be disruptive.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's exactly what it
It
is.
can't sound like George Lucas dialogue. It can't it can't,
No, God,
it can't
no.
be
Oh my lord.
extra weird. Jeffrey
Mhm.
was talking about funny dice or whatever. It can't be any of that. It has to be language that people are comfortable with and that people
Mhm.
can it, either already are familiar with, because I'm sure there's probably a lot of language that we can just use.
Mhm. And
Um,
Jeffrey says it needs to be future proof. Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
again, it needs to absolutely be 100% future proof. It has
Mhm.
to go on forever, and it can't be superseded in any way. It has to
No.
be made in a way that, like, if we're going to use this thing, if you're still publishing books under it in 2070, that you're going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. And that's what he just says. Two
Mhm.
interpretations as the legal talk has changed in 25 years. And it has.
True, true.
You know.
Because, I mean, there are a lot of things. Apparently, according to a lot of these people, the idea of like authorized, like unauthorized, that's not even really like a legal term. The
Mhm.
idea of like unauthorizing like a contract or whatever, it's
Yeah.
that's not like a legal thing necessarily. So the language that Wizards had in the 1.1 that s- purported to deauthorize was just
Mhm.
them grasping at straws,
Right.
you know, trying to fix
Mhm.
and go
Well, see,
back essentially.
see, I'll tell you what's going to be the best way to actually do this, and this is from my corporate experience
Hmm.
because I come from that kind
Ooh,
of
your corporate
ooh,
experience.
like corporate experience.
I smell my coffee, corporate man. So do your corporate spiel, buddy.
So in that world, a lot of what a lot of what they've done recently are create what are called living documents, which basically are documents that are open,
Are
basically in that
alive.
they're open source and they can be uh, they're created now, but they are open to be, you know, to changed over time as things change.
Hmm.
Because you know, as even 10 years ago, things are not even, 5 years ago, things are different, especially in, with in our digital age, things change all the time.
Hmm.
So, you know, this new orc needs to actually be that kind of a document where, oh, okay, things have changed. We created this 3 years ago. Things have kind of changed, so we need to go to the community and say, hey, this part of it isn't working anymore. What can we do?
Mm,
And
I see. I don't know that I necessarily even agree with that because I
oh
feel
yeah,
like, yeah, because I feel like with IP, especially if you're talking about stuff like IP, that could get make things murky. I like the
hmm
idea of having a document that's set in stone and that's
hmm
usable forever and that doesn't change. That you know what I mean? Like just because if you're using it for one specific thing,
hmm
then that's it. Now, listen, down the line, here's the thing. What Wizards of the Coast should have done if they were
hmm
worried about like VTTs and they should have maybe tried to craft something for that space alone.
okay,
Do you see
okay,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I see what you're going.
Whereas
I see where you're
whereas
going
that
with it.
the that wouldn't interfere with the OGL 1.0A as it
hmm
stands because that's its own thing, right? That
hmm
stands as its own thing in time. You can still use it, whatever. And then we're gonna maybe create another license specifically for virtual tabletop,
Okay,
right? Because that's like a new
okay,
thing. So like
that
let's
is a new
just
thing.
create
Yes.
a license for that thing instead of creating a license where we try to encompass everything, destroy old
hmm
licenses or change things in the license because what if somebody doesn't want that thing changed? Just because
Right.
there's progress doesn't mean that all the progress is good or
This is
that
true.
everybody wants to go on to that thing. And sometimes the way that progress works is you go forward a little bit and then you go, "Oh, that's not the way." So you got to
Yeah.
backtrack and go a different
Mm-hmm.
way, right? Like it's not just always a linear progression.
Right.
And so I feel like no, I like the set in stone model for sure.
hmm
Give me one good license to stand the test of time and you know,
We had that, and then it got ruined.
it did. It did.
That's kind of how that happened. We had that, it got ruined.
It did. But again, it got ruined because the trust is really what ruined it.
hmm
The idea that Wizards
Yeah.
has no trust. So even if they came
Well,
back with a great license,
right.
there's
Uh,
it's done.
And I'll tell you, I think where they, I think the one place where they went wrong with the license to begin with, and you were talking about this a little earlier, is one of the lawyers you said had come from a Linux background, right?
Well, no, it was the Ryan Dancy, the guy that worked at Wizards, that was kind
Yeah.
of charged with.
Right. He
He's
had a
not he's
Linux.
not a lawyer. He's
Oh,
he's just a he's was
he's
just
a
a
guy.
game like a game
Okay.
designer or whatever.
Well, he had a Linux background, right?
He had a Linux background, and that's why
Well,
he was familiar with
mhm.
open source.
Well, so Linux, the way that that works and the way that that continues to be open source is because once they created it, they gave it to a third party who is a neutral third party that is a nonprofit. And that
Hmm.
is and that is who, uh, for lack of a better term, regulates Linux,
Hmm.
who's the caretaker of Linux. I'm sure Hasbro didn't want that at the time.
Yeah,
You
probably
know.
not. And there's an interesting thing where there is what is it called? Because I didn't even know about this. And then
Hmm.
again, I watched that interview with Ryan, and he talks about when they created the Open Gaming license, they did create a thing called, I think it's the Open Gaming Foundation.
Hmm.
Can see, let's see, maybe.
Yep, there it is. And it's a .org, looks like.
Oh, look, there is a
Well, there's a statement on here.
there
Let's
is a
see what
statement on
from
here from
Ryan Dan from.
yesterday from Ryan. Okay.
Let's
Uh,
read this. Let's see what
yeah.
it says.
So update January 12th. It says 2 decades ago I helped create the Open Gaming License, which helped save Dungeons and Dragons. Really, it did.
Hmm.
Today, that license is at a risk of being changed by Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. I'm hoping that a coordinated response by the community might make them reconsider their plans. Please join me in signing this petition on change.org. The more people who
Okay.
sign, the more visible this effort will become, and the more likely it will have an impact on the decisions made by Hasbro. I believe time is of the essence. An announcement of their plans may happen today, Thursday, the 12th of January. If you are
Which
inclined, please sign the
didn't.
petition now. Thank you for your support. Please
Hmm.
sign the petition, Ryan S. Dancy. So, yeah, I didn't even see this yesterday.
Yeah. So
Obviously, they
apparently,
didn't make a
yeah.
statement yesterday.
No, they did not, because their Discord went kerblooey. uh, Apparently. But I'm sure that a lot of people saw this, and I'm sure if you go to that petition, if you click that link for that petition, you can see how many signatures are on there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Jeffrey says blast from the past, 22 years between page updates. Yeah, that's pretty wild,
No, that's the OGL.
actually.
You
Oh,
go back and go to the other
what
link.
did I click? Oh, please
It's
sign the
please
petition.
sign the position.
There we
Yeah,
go.
please sign. That'll take you to change.org,
Maybe.
unless it's done.
Or yeah, I want.
Maybe it
Hmm.
maybe it broke.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
that's
maybe we
that's
broke.
not working. Maybe it's
Maybe
broken.
we broke change.org. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. That might have happened. I'm not sure,
Mhm.
but wow. So yeah, the page previously the page was just real basic information about the
Mhm.
open license. That's all it was,
Mhm.
and open gaming and that sort of thing. But that's funny. I did not see that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
listen, these people were there. They know that it was supposed to be open and open
Oh yeah.
forever, and it was never meant to be revoked. Wizards,
Mhm.
they have, you know, they you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Nope.
The toothpaste is out. They squeezed all the fucking toothpaste out, and they can't put it back. Uh, hello,
So
darlings, says
uh
Shanthier Schneely. It, I hope I said that right.
yeah,
Hello.
hopefully.
Were you gonna say them?
No, I was just about to read that.
Oh,
So,
okay, yeah.
yeah. I
So,
just saw that. Mhm. But yeah, so that's that's interesting. Um, Well, we should have expected that something was going to be should have been on there anyway. Yeah.
mhm, yeah. I
So,
mean, he's been engaged, kind of
mhm.
re-engaged by the community all of a sudden. Nobody knew who Ryan Dancy was, right? Like nobody knew. Like I had no
Yeah.
idea. I had no idea that he was the guy. I had some other thoughts about who did it, but I was not right. I was not correct. Um
Hmm.
and I think it's interesting to see all this stuff come out because
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not really common knowledge. We didn't really know who was in the room, so it's kind of interesting to know. It's
Mhm.
Ryan and Lisa and the people who
All
were
the
there
yeah. Mhm.
and their intent. I think is yeah, Jim
Yeah.
Butler.
That's
I think that's
important. Yeah.
huge that their
Mhm.
intent was
It's very important. Yes.
to keep an open license. But now we are going to have to, figure out what we do for the
Mhm.
future. Whether you want to go the Piezo way and use the orc license, and hopefully they'll be developing that completely out in the open, and
Mhm.
everybody will be able to contribute to it. Maybe not just these people. Maybe they'll. I'm hoping they'll get it to a point where they have,
Where they
kind
can.
of an alpha and then
Right.
release to the
Mhm.
community and say, "Here's what we have so far. What do you guys think?"
Right.
That's what
Right.
I'm hoping for.
Mhm. I'm assuming that that's probably what they're going to do. I can't see that they won't do that. They can't. They have to be transparent because
Hmm.
Wizards wasn't. So
Sure,
yeah.
sure. Jeffrey asked, "Did that TSR guy win?" I guess you're talking about the new TSR. I don't know. I haven't really followed any of that. I'm friends with Ernie Gygax on Facebook, so every now and again I see Ernie's posts just because, he's Gary's son, and I follow all
Mhm.
those old guys on Facebook.
Yeah.
All the old crowd from TSR that are still alive and their progeny, and just so that I can get all those feels of the old school when I log on to Facebook, which is rarely ever. But no, I don't know anything about the new TSR. But Chanfier, which hopefully I'm saying that right, uh, don't need the OGL and never have OSR all the way. And yes, that's what we were talking about, of course,
Yep.
with Swords and Wizardry. The creator, Matt Finch, he says, we don't need the OGL. Scrub it all. Make your own thing.
Mhm.
Um, we'll be fine. So, yeah, I think that. I think that'll be all right no matter which way you go. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what
Yeah.
Matt Finch does, because honestly, his game is going to be closer to what we play,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Because his game is more based on old D&D, and our game, which we play Beck Me with some of my own house rules that I plan to publish, which is why one of these this affects us and
Mhm.
me, and
Yeah.
so we want to do some publishing, and the version of the game that we play is Beck Me. So Swords and Wizardry is going to be probably the closest to that. So I'm interested to see what language he uses, how he figures out things with spell tables and that sort of thing. The thing about us is that most of the stuff that I plan to do as far as like spells and things like that, that's going to be mostly my own. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like my
Yeah.
own language and stuff. So I'm not super worried about anybody else's licensing with that for
Yeah.
show.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Paizo will be okay too. I you know, I think the fact that so many other creators have kind of signed on to the Orc license is
That's a
or
good thing.
kind of
That.
pledged to
Mhm.
do this is good. The fact that Chaosium is in there, that gives me a lot of assurance as an old school player, because that company is still, I feel like, I think Chaosium is actually still run by Sandy Peterson, say like the original people, if I'm not mistaken, or at least they're kind of still have their hands in things. So that
Mhm.
makes me feel good about it, because digging Chaosium.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we'll see a new OGL Call of Cthulhu game. No, Call of Cthulhu is fine,
Yep.
definitely. Well, Dan,
Yeah.
what do you think? Any more thoughts? Because I don't know. I feel like we've kind of exhausted through a
I
lot of the
do think.
topic that
Yeah.
we've had
Mhm.
today, and
Yeah. I don't have any other. I don't think I have any other thoughts on this. I just, Jeffrey, thanks for coming, man. Talk to you
yeah,
later, guys. Got to run, but hey, Jeffrey, thank you for stopping in.
yeah, we
And
appreciate
Sean,
you being here on our live streams, man. Thanks a lot.
hmm
Have a good
yeah,
night, bud.
Sean Fear. thank you for coming.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard, let's see who we had. Gavin, we had at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, and
Absolutely.
and of course Garrett.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who's still here, thanks for watching.
Absolutely, yeah.
We are gonna wrap up our stream here. This
Mhm.
has been a stream about Wizards of the Coast, OGL,
Yeah.
their statement. It's
And if
crazy.
yeah, and if you are here, so don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that
Mm-hmm.
notification bell, helps the algorithm for us. Don't forget to
Definitely.
check out our games.
Yep.
Uh, we have a nice little backlog of games now. We have about 2 years of backlog for games, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, we're still churning them out every week. We've got when is this week's coming out, Steve? I'm
Uh,
putting you on the I'm gonna put you on the
Put me on
spot.
the
When,
spot. I have already done the editing for the game. All the chopping bits,
yep,
like
right.
chopping out like the. Oh, thanks, Richard.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
thanks, Richard.
Yay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, I've already done the chopping out the bits of nonsense, like the bathroom break and everything, which put the game down to a little over 2 hours. It's about 2 hours and 12 minutes, and
Uh-huh.
all I have to do now is like throw the intro and the outro on and do a little special effects or whatever, and then
Okay, cool.
all the titles and stuff, and then that'll be ready to go up. So that
Yeah.
actually might go up tonight, if not tonight,
Mhm.
tomorrow. So check it out. That's the newest episode of Up Up and Away Nova Destiny. Um,
Absolutely. And if you watched last week, if you watched this last week, you know that we're on that derelict spaceship with the space zombies.
mhm,
And no spoilers, no spoilers, but the end of this episode is something big. There's a surprise at the end of the episode, so make sure you tune in once we put that up. Watch all the way
definitely.
to the end, and it's going to be, yeah, bump bump
Bum, bum, bum. I
bump.
would say
Yeah.
actually, if you're gonna go in right now, look for Space Death. Space Death Part One.
Okay.
That's the episode I would have people get in because that's kind of the very beginning of them going on to that derelict ship. So
That's
it's
true.
it's
Yes.
kind of like the beginning of a new arc.
Hmm.
So if you're trying to get in, Space Death is probably the best episode, and that way you don't have too much to go. So
Right, right. And then you can take your time with the stuff from before because there's a lot. There's a
or you don't even
lot.
have to watch the stuff from before. You can just keep watching us, the
Yeah.
stuff that we do from now on.
Hmm. Yeah.
However you want to do it. We understand 2 3
That's
hour
exactly it.
games, they can get long.
That's a yeah. You could always listen to us while you're doing other things. Just put it on in the background. We're you know you don't have to
That's what
watch.
I
You
do.
can just listen. Yeah.
with most of the stuff that I listen to.
Hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, my name is DM Steve,
I am Dungeon Dan.
and we are the Dicks in the Dark, or two of the Dicks in the Dark. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching.